Good to have you back with us here on New Day. Who is the victim? It's a question being posed by Camille Cosby, Bill Cosby's wife of more than 50 years. It is the first time Mrs. Cosby has made a public statement acknowledging the sexual assault and rape allegations that are being faced by her husband. She is defiantly standing by Mr. Cosby. Let's bring in attorney and radio personality Mo Ivory. Brian Stelter's here as well, CNN senior media correspondent and host of Reliable Source as well. The two of you, we hear from Mrs. Cosby. What do you think, Brian? Was this part of Team Cosby? What was the strategy of putting her out there?
There has never seemed to be a coherent strategy, and I think that's still true today. You know, her statement ends, who is the victim? Clearly, she thinks her husband is the victim of all of this.
And maybe perhaps herself.
And herself as well. That's a great point. And that I don't think that resonates with the vast majority of people that keep hearing about these allegations every day.
I want to read a little bit of it here. A different man has been portrayed in the media over the last 2 months. It is the portrait of a man I do not know. It is also a portrait painted by individuals and organizations who many in the media have given a pass. It's interesting, Mo, definitely standing by her man, definitely taking some shots at the media, pretty easy target.
No, absolutely. And listen, she's been married to Bill Cosby for over 50 years. But one thing I think about that, the statement, this is not the man I know,
Isn't that
it's a little bit disingenuous because she does know that in 2006 he settled a sexual assault case with a woman and that there were other women that in that case testified that they too had been the victims. So back in 2006, it never got the media attention that it's getting now. But Camille was certainly aware that these things were going on, and it was able to sort of be buried in a way that it hasn't been able to be this time. But she certainly knows that this is not the first rodeo for Bill Cosby being accused of sexual assault.
She also goes on to say there appears to be no vetting of my husband's accusers before stories are published or aired. An accusation is published and immediately goes viral. Well, we here at CNN take great exception, Brian, to them saying that because we carefully vetted each of the women that came on our air.
That's the part that I thought was most disingenuous, to be perfectly honest with you. There's been a lot of vetting going on here, and if anything, these alleged victims have gone through a lot. Maybe gone through hell in the media. There has been a lot of vetting. There have also been attacks from Cosby's lawyers, in some cases pointing out legitimate points, in other cases just smearing the victims here.
Mo, I think this is one that seems like such a left turn. I want to read this statement. She compares what is going on with her husband essentially to the rape allegations surrounding the University of Virginia. Let me read it to you. The story was heartbreaking, but ultimately appears to be proved to be untrue. Many in the media were quick to link that story to stories about my husband until that story unwound. What do you make of that bizarre comparison?
Yeah, that it's bizarre, Michaela. I don't know where that comparison came to be, and I was actually a little bit disappointed in that language, whether it's Camille's language or crafted for her to say. But listen, I went to Spelman College during a time that Camille and Bill Cosby gave that huge gift. I've seen her speak at Spelman 1,000 times.
What's your sense of her?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was just a little, I understand why she's standing by her husband. This is a woman who stood by her husband always. She's been a mother, she's been a caretaker, and she's been out of the spotlight for much of that time. So she's a very dignified woman, and I think that this whole episode is sort of putting a tarnish on, well, what kind of woman stands by a man that has done this? So I know it's been difficult for her, but I don't think making sort of those sweeping comparisons to something that's not at all comparable to what Bill Cosby is going through takes away a little bit of sort of that credibility that I've had of her as a woman that just, you know, is also in the forefront of women's issues and things that women stand for, which is the way I've always seen her portray herself, you know, whether at Spelman or just in her life.
Brian, quick final thought.
Well, what a hard time for her. You know, there are parts of this statement that I thought were disingenuous. When I saw who is the victim, I thought that came off wrong. At the same time, hearing you talk, Mo, what a terrible time for this family. And this family is trying to stay together.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mo Ivory, Brian Stelter, always great to have.